Hi there, welcome back to Sky Sports News. As the owner of INEOS and chairman of French club Nice announces his intention to buy Manchester United, our chief reporter Kaveh Solhekol is with me on set. So first of all, why Manchester United?
Why Manchester United? Because Sir Jim Ratcliffe has always made it clear that he wants to buy a Premier League club. A few years ago, he said, no, Premier League clubs are overvalued. Which is why he went and bought Nice, the French club, for about 100 million euros. He said, I'm not going to spend billions of pounds on a Premier League club. But his attitude has changed over the past few years. He's somebody whose company has a lot of interest in different sports. He is somebody who grew up being a Manchester United supporter. Even though he regularly goes to watch Chelsea, I think he had season tickets at Stamford Bridge as well. Last year, when Chelsea were put up for sale, he actually tried to buy Chelsea. He made a very, very late bid. I think after the deadline, he put in a bid worth up to £4.25 billion. And that bid was...
How much did you say, 4.2 billion?
£4.25 billion, which matched the winning bid, I think, for Chelsea.
Exactly what it went for, wasn't it?
But basically, he'd missed the deadline and he hadn't been properly involved in the sale process. But this time round, as far as Manchester United are concerned, he's the first person to show his hand, and he's doing everything exactly properly. The owners of Manchester United, the Glazer family, have appointed Rain Group, the investment bank, who are also in charge of selling Chelsea on behalf of Roman Abramovich. They're handling the sale, and they've said, look, if you want to buy Manchester United, you need to get in touch with us, and then we'll check you out. If you're serious, you'll enter the process, you'll get to look at the books, confidential numbers, and then you can put in a bid. And once we've got all the bids in, we'll check all the bids out and we'll choose the winner. And this process, I think, has obviously started. Sir Jim Ratcliffe and INEOS are the first people to come out publicly and say, yes, we are formally involved in this process. And I think what we'll see now is more people showing their hands, more people getting to look at the books. And then I think next month, we'll start hearing about different bids that have been made. And I think we would anticipate Manchester United probably changing hands before the end of the season, if the club is sold 100%. Because the owners, the Glazer family, have said, look, we are looking for new investors.
Yeah, they've not quite said.
They've not said, but you don't want to say something's for sale, because if you say something's for sale, it makes it look as if you're desperate to sell, which could mean that you won't get such a good price for it. But they are saying that we're looking for investors. We are conducting a strategic review. Old Trafford needs to be refurbished. The training ground needs work doing on it. More investment in the squad as well. But very, very significant that Sir Jim Ratcliffe has shown his hand. And he is somebody who grew up being a Manchester United supporter. That will be important for a lot of United supporters.
But the fact that he held a Chelsea season ticket holder, they're just going to have to get over that bit. Who does he support? Who's his team then? That's what we need to know, right?
I think, to be fair to him, there are some football fans, if you're rich enough and you live in West London, even if you are a Manchester United supporter, maybe your children support Chelsea. Your children want to watch Premier League games regularly. You don't have the time to be able to go to Old Trafford the whole time, so you get a season ticket at Chelsea. So I think he grew up being a Manchester United supporter. From everything I've heard or read, he is a Manchester United supporter, but it's also true to say that he and his family did have season tickets at Chelsea, and they regularly watch Chelsea as well.
All right, well, if you're telling me that the bid for Chelsea was 4.25 billion. What's Manchester United worth? I know you might not know this off the top of your head, but what do you think it's worth?
I think in the current climate, because there is so much interest in buying Premier League clubs, and also because a club like Manchester United does not become available very often, even though we're in this crazy situation where at the moment, potentially, if you've got the money, you could buy Liverpool as well. That's a different story. But how much would Manchester United cost? OK, Chelsea, it was £2.5 billion plus a commitment to spend another £1.75 billion on investing in the club and the infrastructure. Okay. So in total, a commitment of £4.25 billion. Now, I think most people would expect Manchester United probably to change hands if it's sold for somewhere between £5 and £10 billion. I think it would be closer to 5 rather than 10, but that would be the kind of figure that the Glazer family would be looking for, which would be an incredible return for them, because they bought the club 18 years ago, and they bought the club in a leveraged buyout. And I'm pretty sure, I'd have to go back and check the numbers exactly, they bought the club for around £700 million, but about 500 million of that was borrowed. So they only put down 200 million pounds of their own money. And 18 years later, if the club is to be sold, it will probably be for more than £5 billion. So an amazing return for the Glazer family, who've also taken a lot of money out of the club, and the leveraged buyout has cost Manchester United more than £1 billion as well since they've been the owners.
Where else could we see some bids come in? Because, like you say, this is the only public one so far, but I'm pretty sure there's somebody else.
When Chelsea was put up for sale, there was a lot of interest from the US. We saw multiple rival bids from the US. Private equity firms, investment banks, hedge funds, they all want to invest in the Premier League because they think they can make a lot of money out of owning a big Premier League club. So expect interest from the US, especially because Rain Group, who are marketing the sale, are based in New York, so they'll have a lot of good contacts in the US market. There'll also be interest from Saudi Arabia. We've heard from the Saudi Arabian sports minister during the World Cup when he was interviewed by Sky News, saying that Saudi companies, maybe the state, the sovereign wealth funds, would be interested in buying a club like Manchester United. Also Qatar, lots of talk as well over the past couple of weeks and months that the Qataris are looking at investing and buying a Premier League club. Although I think the owners of PSG, QSI, sort of distance themselves from reports that they may be interested in buying Manchester United. It'd be difficult for them to own a club as big as PSG and Manchester United at the same time.
Talking to Spurs, what we understand.
Yeah, I think they may be able to buy a minority stake,
yeah,
but it'd be difficult for them to own two big clubs like that outright. So interest, Asia, Middle East, the Arab world, the US as well. In the old days, a few years ago, we would have said interest from Russia. Obviously, that's not going to happen now. Interest from China, that's not going to happen now either. But I think the US, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Sir Jim Ratcliffe flying the flag for the UK.